when we launched this new model in 2023, overnight our ministry doubled. So it was like same staff,
Wow.
same budget, but like literally doubled. And what was happening is we were having so many people coming in, but really like it was hard to track who was there and work the process. And so one of the things we rolled out was a check-in system,
Mm-hmm.
not hey, come fill this out. We want something from you, but it was built on the culture of first knowing your first name. So we do name tags. So we were able to roll out, if you come, you get a name tag, and when you get the name tag, it lets us know you're with us. So that was all built on the culture of like behind scenes. It's very important for our team for follow up, for cross checking. Are they serving? Are they coming on the weekend? Are they in groups? Or were you new? But the pastoral side of it, it was easier to remember people's names. So like, Josiah, how you been? And just that alone
Right.
was such a big value add. And we didn't know how it was going to go because you're asking a 29-year-old to come in and potentially first time be like, what am I in sixth grade? Am I checking in? And so there was that, what is this going to feel like? But I think the way our team was able to do it, it was like a value add to you. It's like, isn't it the worst when you're around people, you know what they look like and you remember them, you just forget their name? Isn't that the worst? Of like, oh yeah, like, yeah, we're trying to change that.
Hey fam, welcome back to the Young Adults Today podcast. I'm Josiah Kennealy, your host. In just a moment, we sit down with my wife, Micah, and Tyler Gay, and we're so glad to have you join us for this conversation because Tyler shares his experience leading a thriving multi-site young adult ministry. We'll dive into lessons on communication, relational equity, and creative ideas like name tags. Yep. Name tags were the secret hack of how they were able to double their young adult ministry at Christ Fellowship. Name tags help foster that growth, community, and engagement. We also talk about maintaining strong culture, empowering volunteers, and balancing digital engagement with real life presence and encouraging leaders to prioritize their personal faith and spiritual practices. So while you're here, let's try a digital name tag, y'all. Type in the comments wherever you're listening, your first and last name and what church you're a part of. Because we love having you here, we've got a free gift for you. It's our ebook, 10 Steps to Starting a Successful Young Adult Ministry. It's available to you wherever you're streaming in the show notes. It's 10 Steps to Starting a Successful Young Adult Ministry. While you're here, subscribe to the Young Adults Today podcast. That way you never miss an amazing conversation on reaching young adults for Christ in our world today. Let's dive into that amazing conversation with Tyler Gay. Here we go.
And we are here with a newer friend to me, and that is Tyler Gay. How are you doing there, Tyler?
I'm great. Such an honor to be with you guys today and excited about the conversation. It's a little cold where I'm at. I'm out in South Carolina, so not as cold maybe as where you guys are, but I'm ready.
Fall's here and we're here for
It
it. Are
is.
you a pumpkin spice latte fan? Peppermint mocha? What's your jive? What's your
I
jive?
drink coffee black almost all the time, but I do love a good pumpkin spice latte. Yeah, for
There you
sure.
go.
Yeah.
Gosh, Josiah wants to start that in August. To me, that is not
Year
fall
round if
quite
we
yet.
could.
No, not a
If we
chance.
could.
Not a chance.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I tried playing Christmas music like 2 months ago in my house. My wife's like, nope, turn it off.
Oh, that's
So that's
24/7 here. That's any day goes here with Christmas music. More or less the jazz,
amazing.
Christmassy jazz.
The Queen of Christmas. And, we posted on Instagram this week 7 young adult ministries you need to follow. We talked about Thursdays at Mariners, The Porch. We
Mhm.
talked about Calvary YA in Illinois. We talked about BT Church in McAllen, Texas, a few others. One of the other churches that you need to follow is Christ Fellowship Young Adults. And Tyler, take us to that place.
Mhm.
Take us to Florida. And what does when you're not on vacay, when you're not in South Carolina, what does multi-site
Mm.
young adult ministry look like for you guys?
Yeah, it's awesome. First off, I love my church. My life's been changed by my church. Have the greatest pastors in the world, Pastor Todd and Julie Mullins. And so my wife actually got saved at Christ Fellowship.
Did
Interestingly
she
enough,
really?
she got saved. She was born in Palm Beach.
Oh my
Got
gosh.
saved, 20 some years ago, and gave her life to Jesus. Moved away, and then did college, and then we came back on staff. It's kind of a full circle moment. But we are a multi-site church, and so we have 14 locations, and like probably most young adult ministries, Our young adult ministry has evolved over the years as the need has been presented. And so I've had the privilege of being a part of our young adult ministry for really the last 7.5 years. And so I've been a
Goodness.
part of seeing those transitions and changes and evolutions happen. But we have 14 locations in our church from Vero Beach down to Boca, out to Westlake and Okeechobee. I love South Florida. And so, because we are a multi-site church, by definition, really our young adult ministry is multi-site. Now, we don't have like gatherings at every single campus like we would with our student ministry. And
Mm.
so, if you were to come with us down in South Florida, essentially, we have 5 weekly gatherings on Tuesday nights
It's amazing.
called 20s and 30s. And then we have a weekly central gathering on Thursdays called College Nights, which is 18 to 25. And so that was kind of born out of the year 2022. Our senior pastors came to us with this new vision called Get There First, which is like, if you're in next gen ministry, it's like the most exciting thing to hear. Basically, they're like, man, we need to get there first because in the race to the heart of the next generation, the first one there wins and
George
culture's
Barna said it.
winning and everyone else seems to be winning
Yes.
and there's some areas we're not. So as a church, it's not just the youth pastor's job, not just the church, it's our job, right, to reach the next generation. And so in 2022, when that vision kind of got rolled out, we started asking the question, like, if we could do anything, unlimited resources, unlimited time, unlimited, what would we do? And so at the time, our young adult kind of model was like 18 to 29, but we weren't reaching like 26 plus as well as we'd like to.
Mm-hmm.
Fascinating.
And and it was kind of unique to maybe our context where we were. There's not a lot of big state colleges. We got a couple local. And so out of 2022, we're like, what if we could reach like the 18-year-old who's a senior looking to bridge and transition in the next season, as well as like the 27, 28, and even the 30-year-old married. And so that's when that kind of vision was born. And so under Christ Fellowship Young Adults, the two expressions would be 20s and 30s and college 18 to 25. So that's what it looks like now. We can talk about kind of like the flow of what those spaces look like, but it has been a game changer. So yeah, it's my favorite people, favorite places to be. So
Okay.
It's definitely a frequently asked question for us. The phone rings a lot, and we'll get a lot of texts, DMs, emails, multi-site churches, and there's a lot that, our church, our home church at Emmanuel in Minneapolis, there's Spring Lake Park is so different than Lakeville, than Elk River,
sure.
than Maple
Mm-hmm.
Grove. And so it's like, how do you have an expression? I love that you use that word. How do you have a champion of the cause, a point person at each location? How do you have on ramps, some centrally supported and some maybe
Mhm.
more autonomous? And I think it's a question that, right now it is the era of young adult ministry.
Yeah.
God's moving on college campuses. There is such a hunger in Gen Z young men, young women,
Yes.
and the time is now for churches to
Yep.
provide those Bible teaching and
Yeah.
faith communities, but also those social needs, the spiritual needs and the social needs,
Absolutely.
the religious and the relational needs of 20 somethings. And a lot of it could be fueled by personal relationship, some by programming.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm excited that we have you on the pod today. And I mean, what have you learned 7.5 years? What have you learned in leading a thriving multi-site young adult ministry?
Yeah. Oh man, so many things. I think one of the things that has been a big learning, especially like the first job I had in ministry was like a small church in Lakeland Baptist Church, and like 10 kids showing up. I'm not very organized and I'm not a detail person, and so coming to Christ Fellowship really cut my teeth. I feel like in ministry over the last 7.5, almost 8 years. And so I think for starters, since we are a multi-site church,
Yeah.
there are nuances and complexities that come with that. And so some of the biggest learnings that I've had in the last 7.5 years, which have been privilege of just being a part of the team and helping leading out of campus to now the seat I get to sit in is kind of help drive our young adult ministry at our church. So having the privilege of getting to sit in different seats, I've learned a lot, starting with how important like communication is. larger the organization, the more campuses, the more like communication is so vital. And so I've been learning like even when I think I've communicated something, unless I feel like I've over communicated, it's probably not as clear as I think it is. And so, there are times that an event will go by, there's something that happens, and maybe a ball is dropped or something that I go, that was because I didn't communicate it enough. So I think cross departmentally
Sure.
clear communication, because with any ministry, like we're working with all different types of teams, even if they're not directly making the Tuesday or Thursday night happen, they're a part of the conversation in approvals or calendars or these different things. And so I think how important communication is, number one, and to provide clear communication, consistent communication, use the same language, deadlines, objectives, desired outcomes, what are the expectations. So that's a huge learning of just the importance of communication. I think secondly, at a multi-site church, would be just the importance of like building relational equity or swequity, and especially at our church, we do a lot.
Yeah,
We do a lot of really awesome stuff. We move pretty fast.
for
And
sure.
because of that, if you shortcut communication, and this person is out of the loop, it can come back to get you. And so I've been in those positions a couple times. I'm like, I need to make sure I do my due diligence and communication. And then just big part is like, man, when you do a lot, making sure that we're never like leading out of like position, but relationship and just, getting in the trenches and serving one another. I think when I first came on staff, one of the things that was most helpful to my wife and I at the time, 2018, was we came in during a month of like student camp, and then next we did like this conference thing. And so for like 3 days, you're rubbing shoulders, serving one next to one another, and like getting to know each other. And so I think just the importance of having relationship, because that when an ask comes or hey, we're going to do this, it's not just like hey, we only talk when you need or etc. Um, and then another really key component to like multi-site, I would say, is just like in addition to building relational equity, is building trust and maintaining trust because when you do a lot, again, trust is so vital, especially
Mm.
when a lot of the ministry is maybe directed from a seat like this, but not always executed from my seat, right? So just establishing trust, having a culture of trust is great. I'm naturally the person that's like, you start with 100, for better or worse. I'm like 10 out of 10 on the forehead. You got my trust. And then we'll have conversations as it goes. Versus like, I don't really know. You gotta earn trust and time will tell. So those are just like three things I would say over the last 7 years amongst many: culture,
Hmm.
man, spiritual health. I could go on, but in terms of like more on the leadership aspect of things, it'd be communication, building relational equity, and then like a culture of trust, um, amongst many others. So I'm still figuring it out, man. I'm still
Oh,
figuring you
we
guys.
all are. We all are.
Yeah.
We're in it together and better together because of it. Is your role practically both the central support and are you leading one of the Tuesdays, leading the Thursday, or is it more of a central role? Is it a dual role?
It's a great question. So, central role in that lead the staff, staff meetings, direction, and then typically what I do is I rotate every Tuesday to support the team. Often I'll teach or preach, but often we'll just show up to support and connect with young adults, give feedback. And so that's on Tuesdays. And then our college gathering, that's on Thursdays. I'm there every time and serve alongside our college pastor and I'm there every Thursday. So one gathering I get to be at always. The other five, I'm only there once every five
There we go.
weeks.
Yeah.
So a lot of resourcing, a lot of planning, prepping. Most of my role, in which people might not know, is like not front facing.
Yep.
If like unless I'm like rostered to teach, I'm really not in front of our dream teams. It's like the team's leading, they're the ones that are building, and I'm just kind of here to support. And so it's a little bit of both, but yeah, like I help kind of steward budget and product requests, all things, guys, I'm so wildly ungifted at, but there's grace and his grace is sufficient. But yeah, that's kind of what it looks like is central support and resourcing and just training and making sure our teams are as healthy as they can be and have what they need. So
I love that. And it's so complex the way that you unpack it. Like a lot of people think like, oh, pastors just show up for this event, or they are the wedding pastors or the funeral pastors or
yeah.
the doctor. They go to the doctor and they go visit people in the hospital, pastors. And I'm like, if you really sit back and realize that you are running departments of HR, team, leadership, development, casting
Volunteers.
vision,
Yes.
volunteers, coffee carts, outreach,
Yeah, yeah,
there's so much
yeah.
going through that. And I think a majority of our listeners, I don't know if they're necessarily in the directional role that you are, like directed, like what do you say? You said directed instead of like the person executing. I
Hmm.
think a lot of people, at least we've come across, probably start in the executing role as
Hmm.
well as leading teams. How have you been able to differentiate your specific role? Because sometimes I would say it's like this. Josiah and I, we lead a nonprofit, we've led ministries, and it's
Hmm.
kind of like when God starts positioning in you of maybe not being the executor of everything, but helping people get developed, utilize their spiritual gifts, get
Hmm.
discipled, and they're learning how to discipline themselves. And then you go to more of like that directional role, casting vision. It's kind of like in my mind when you switch over to that newer position, it's kind of like you're letting somebody hold your baby for the first time. You know what I mean? Like, can I
Yeah,
trust
yeah,
you? Like,
Did you
hold my
yeah,
wash your
hand,
yeah,
hands?
yeah,
wash your
yeah,
hands. Like, her bottle's falling out of her. Like, what are you doing? And then we can get like that way in
Have you ever
ministry
held a
too.
baby
totally.
before?
Yeah, yeah, totally,
But we
totally.
can like come across as that to our teams that we're leading, quote unquote. So, what are some like the biggest challenges in leadership that maybe you faced as a
Yeah.
multi-site young adult ministry, and how do you keep the vision and culture consistent across the campuses, because you're equipping people to execute and you're kind of making the calls behind the scenes? Like,
Mhm.
how would you encourage, or what have you experienced in that for the listener to kind of
Yep.
lean in right here, everybody?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think I had the insane benefit. God was so kind and gracious because I was able to be a part of the team for a long while. I am now helping lead people who were in positions I was in. And so from
Ooh.
that vantage point, I'm like, I know how this decision will affect you because I knew how it affected me, right? So just different things like that. And yeah, so there was a transition timeline, and so I was so thankful to have been in those spaces. So it wasn't like I'm trying to, execute something or lead something that I never learned to execute. And then, by default, also part of my role is this happened a couple times. If there's staff transition, then it's like I am the guy for, like this happened a couple times the last couple of years where we had a transition where I was like, doing my role with helping lead the team, look after the team, and was like one of the regional young adults pastors. So it was kind of funky, and I'm not even sure I did a great job at stewarding both. But yeah, I think just being comfortable and understanding you don't know what you don't know, and part of this role too is like we're all relatively around the same age. So
Yep.
for me, I went from like organizationally one of the guys in the same kind of space to now a supervisor, and so we reclassed. I'm not necessarily the dotted or the direct line of supervision over our young adult pastors anymore. But yeah, it is nuanced in terms of like culture and vision and some of those things. Our church is pretty big in culture, especially our staff, very thick culture of honor. We have something called core values that like we use all the time in our language, and then something called leadership values. We have like 10 of them. And so we're using those in huddles, trying to use those in staff. If we're all speaking the same language, it helps for coaching conversations as well as celebration, right?
Okay.
So we try to model that in our staff meetings, celebrate one another using leadership values because kind of what you celebrate will get replicated. And so speaking the same language is really really helpful. But yeah, I'm naturally like vision, let's do this. And we're in the middle of that right now as a ministry. And so I find that if I'm really passionate about something, I have a little bit more to say about it. But in terms of like multi-site, we got people on our staff team. I think this is part of the challenge. I could say this. sometimes in ministry, you have a job, let's just say a church like ours, where the execution is supposed to be the same, but you have different kinds of people fulfilling that role. And so
Yep.
everybody has their bias or their emphasis or their passion points. And so
Mhm.
I've tried to go, okay, here are the things that really matter, like culture, the way our spirit, like we're going to reflect the house that we're in. We're all going to speak the same language. But also give room for people to have their personality and their emphasis. I got some people on a team that are the best after party planners in the world, and some are like, man, let's group up and let's build community in this way, or let's do so having people have different emphases, knowing what's the culture, what's the vision, and where's the room for maybe executing something that isn't happening everywhere. So still trying to figure it all out, but we're in the middle of that right now, like basically like an evangelism training. And so we're
Yeah.
building something brand new in the air, and which
Mhm.
does feel a lot like I'm very passionate about that. So just, releasing and trusting that, God's going to work and do his thing. So yeah, but culture is super, super strong in our church, and just trying to make sure that reflects the weekend culture, the heart of our senior pastors, all of that.
That's good.
So somebody is tuning in, watching, listening, and they're at a multi-site church, different congregations
Yep.
that span different communities, different
Yep.
cities, different parts of maybe a state or a few states in some cases. Um, what I've always said is I've said get one going first. Start at one
Mm.
location. Maybe that's the broadcast, and some groups have gotten away from saying that, but maybe it's kind of a central location.
Mhm.
And why I say this is like I happen to be a big fan of like Marcus Lemonis. He had a show for a while called The Prophet, also Shark Tank. And I've
Yeah.
watched so many people stand on the carpet of Shark Tank
Mhm.
and they're like, we want to franchise our ice cream shop. We want to franchise these pretzels. We want to franchise whatever it is. And before you get more people doing these, you kind of need one proof of concept. You kind of
Yep.
need one that's up and running, that's going well, that is then replicatable. And this on a different scale, it's like you could start with one connect group, one small group,
Mhm.
one life group of young adults,
Mhm.
and then multiply from there. Do you agree with that? Do you have pushback? Like to the listener who's like, we need to start somewhere with young adult ministry. Maybe there's 4 locations, maybe there's 14. Do you think
Mhm.
that one is the place to start, or is it to start a few? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think for our context, I think it's going like what's best for your church, the resources you have. I think vision will always outpace resources, always. Like, and if it doesn't,
It's
it's
so
probably the
real.
vision's probably too small.
You're
But I
right.
think a
Mhm.
lot of us get stuck going like, oh, I want to do X, Y, Z. I want to have, 14. I want to do all these things. Like, well, just start. Have people like
Mhm.
if and even talk to people who have like just smaller church. I'm like, that's amazing. Pack your house when people take their shoes off.
Beautiful.
And
Yep.
so I think a couple things like if the heart of your senior pastor says, go, I trust you, go do it. Here's resourcing, do what you want. I always tell people like you got to have that one pager, you know what I mean, before the invitation or the permission comes to go. Because too late. If you want to do something in young adult ministry and your senior pastor comes and says start something and you don't have anything, then you're like, I don't really know. I think you could go, yeah, we're going to start this one place, see how it goes. We're going to do that with an outreach. We have an outreach coming up. It's literally an evangelism outreach, and the,
Yep.
the goal is to take it to all
Yep.
of our six gatherings. But I'm like, I want to see how this goes with this one college group. I had a friend remind me the other day, I think John Maxwell says that experience isn't the great teacher, evaluated experiences.
Mhm.
And so I'm like, it's so true. And so I think going, especially if you're in a multi-site church, figure out how it works, get the kinks, and yeah, just build something authentic and real, and then go like, is this something that we should replicate like this? Or,
Mhm.
what are the things we'd want to replicate and what are the things you'd want to be organic? And then go as it's not strained. So I think even for us, the last couple of years as a department, everyone in our young adults ministry obviously is there because they've got a burden for young adults and want to make sure they're connected to the house and to church and to Christ, all those things. And so we're like, we could do this, and want to do this, but then you bring in the production teams and the worship, whatever is required, and you're like, hey, it's just not the season. And so I think coming back into like trust, equity, making sure that what we're stepping out to do is sustainable, because the danger is, and I have to remind myself of this because I'm like, I love doing new things. Let's go do it. But I have to remind myself, like, play the long game,
Yep.
do what's sustainable, and build over time, and just see how God blesses it and how it changes it. So I think you could go, hey, here's a simple small step all 14 locations are going to take. We're going to start a young adults small group.
Beautiful.
We're all going to do this. We're all
Yes.
speaking the same language. See
Yes.
how it grows. Before we go, we're going to do 14 services because like, maybe down the road, awesome, praise God. But wherever you are, one campus, 14, 10, like, start something, see how it goes, see what God breathes on, and you might be surprised how addition or multiplication or replication happens. It might be different if you go slower. So, but do something,
Yeah. Do
Do something.
something. It's like crawl first, then you're gonna
Yeah.
walk, and then you're gonna run.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I'm just reminded like I value quality over quantity. I'm
Yeah.
very futuristic. I think Josiah and I are both futuristic pioneers. Like to start new things, like get things
Yep.
launched, equip people in the process, and I think what I look at is I would rather have quality over quantity. Let's start there. And our friend Ray Clark down in Texas, he talks about like, hey, his ministries, the ministry is growing and God's hand is on it. It's crazy, but they like got their team together and they were kind of doing this analysis and looking at like, yes, we have a lot of people participating, but if 70% of the people are not participating in this way, then it's got to
Mhm.
go. So if it's only functioning at 30%, like if only 30% of the people are actually tuning in, whether it's social media, announcements, okay, well, maybe we don't do 10 announcements at the beginning. It's just one. What is the next thing that they can get plugged into? A date on the calendar to look forward to, or an event, or whatever that might be. And I'm just reminded, like, making sure that it is sustainable, like you had said, like, is this doable from the worship production, volunteers, prayer teams, cleanup committee, setup, tear down,
Yep.
custodial, like, are they okay with us having keys to the
Yep.
building? What are the deadlines? And when you look at, I always want to remind the listener today, like, sustainable, the sustainable process is not settling, is preparing
Mhm.
for the future.
Like
Yep.
And I
that's
think
good.
and I think so many times in my brain, I'm like, how can we make this better? Not bigger, but better. Like I can
Yep.
see the holes. And I'm like, okay, well, this is sustainable for now. Let's get more people to help row this boat forward so we don't sink, but then also get them plugged into a passion of theirs in the process instead of just putting them as a cork in the bottom of the boat so we don't sink, right? So we want to float, but we want to row together and we want them in their roles that they're passionate about while they're being discipled, because I think so many times when we're in the sustainable, we could settle, but for the futuristic person, it's unsettling to feel like, are we moving forward or are we just sitting here lying idle?
Yeah. Yeah. So
So
great.
I just think that. So Tyler, question for you when it comes to like the creative risk that you and your team have been willing or able to make.
Uh-huh.
You sound like you're a pioneer or like futuristic,
For
like a start
sure.
thing. So you probably don't like a leash, like the sky's the limit type approach, I would think, even like the
Yeah.
10 minutes that I met you. But just like your passion, like what are some creative risks that you guys have taken in ministry that have really paid off? And then what are some things that kind of have backfired, flopped, or you're like, we don't need to do that again, and that's okay.
Yep. Yep. No, it's great. Yeah, I think I do thrive with change. And so that's can sometimes be like a dark side of like, but you can keep something. But I think some of the creative risks we've taken have come from identifying key problems in our context and going, okay, what are the hurdles and obstacles we have? And then what are some creative solutions to it? So, prime example, probably the biggest creative risk, or at least problem solve, that our ministry has taken since we launched this new model, which we basically, when we launched this new model in 2023, overnight our ministry doubled. So it was like same staff,
Wow.
same budget, but like literally doubled. And what was happening is we were having so many people coming in, but really like it was hard to track who was there and work the process. And so one of the things we rolled out was a check-in system,
Mm-hmm.
not hey, come fill this out. We want something from you, but it was built on the culture of first knowing your first name. So we do name tags. So we were able to roll out, if you come, you get a name tag, and when you get the name tag, it lets us know you're with us. So that was all built on the culture of like behind scenes. It's very important for our team for follow up, for cross checking. Are they serving? Are they coming on the weekend? Are they in groups? Or were you new? But the pastoral side of it, it was easier to remember people's names. So be like, Josiah, how you been? And just that alone
Right.
was such a big value add. And we didn't know how it was going to go, because you're asking a 29-year-old to come in and potentially first time be like, what am I in sixth grade? Am I checking in? And so there was that, what is this going to feel like? But I think the way our team was able to do it, it was like a value add to you. It's like, isn't it the worst when you're around people, you know what they look like and you remember them, you just forget their name? Isn't that the worst? Of like, oh yeah, like yeah, we're trying to change that. We want this to be a place where you're known, you know people's name, and you hear your name used, and so that's been a maybe a creative risk to a problem solve. And so now the second, I guess I could say, creative solution is we were gathering as a multi-site ministry for basically two events at our broadcast location twice a year, but people had to drive in 45 minutes an hour. And we were realizing that now in this new model, basically the week to week attendance was basically on par with this one big global gathering that used to be week to week attendance, big jump for this global thing. And so it was like, what if we decentralize this big thing to happen at the campus, so that we could empower more volunteers, give more away, and carry that same spirit of invitation. So within the last year alone, we decentralized a big event, which means it was more on our leadership teams, more on our staff to go like, hey, we have to empower, raise up, deploy, and give stuff away. And so even the first event we did in spring specifically didn't have some of the young adults team like speak or preach on that night, because like it's brand new, like run it, see how it goes, empower. And then we did it again this past April, and saw 2,500 young adults come out for this thing, and a
Awesome.
handful of our team were able to preach. And they did that because literally like the whole event was run by our dream teams who are
Yeah.
owning it from top to bottom. And just seeing the passion light up for them to go, man, this is a highlight of my week. And then being a part of the stories that have been coming. And so I would say the decentralization of a big event to try to give more away. Again, you don't know how stuff's going to go. Has been great. And then the check-in with the name tags has been amazing. Because of that, we had 585 people come to this big gathering that we now can follow up with because we know they were there. So like it was like, are you going to do it? You're going to have 800 people, 900 people show up and actually have everyone do name tags? We did. Again, you're like, how is this going to go? Bottleneck, whatever. But now the team's following up, calling, and that's been super rewarding to try and personalize some things. In terms of flops, I think I was thinking about this over the last like 2, 3 years. There's nothing that's been major. I think the flop has been there's been a couple, like try to do like a fundraising campaign for something with the church. The flop usually happens when we have too many things going on
Yeah.
that don't have enough time to rally vision, momentum, clarity behind it, and it just becomes like we're talking about this thing, but we're not really like putting momentum behind it. And so it kind of like it's a good thing. It's just one of many good things. And so I think going like, if we were to do something again, it can't happen with 4 or 5 other events at the same time. So not a ton of like in this season massive flop. We'll see. We're in the middle of an evangelism training and outreach, which is like building a plane in the air. So hopefully that doesn't become a flop story in a couple months. But I have found it's mostly been like, oh yeah, we tried to run this play too quick, mass produce it or get behind it in too short of a window with too many things going on, and we got basically no support behind it. So yeah, that happened last year with some like a fundraising campaign for a great cause. It's
Yeah,
just one of like 10 things we're
Hitting
talking,
goals.
not 10 things, but a lot of things going on in the church. So
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah.
I gotta backtrack for a second, Tyler. Am I catching this right? You are telling me that by putting name tags out, that was the new system that
Yeah.
doubled the young adult ministry at Christ Fellowship.
It allowed, yes and no. It allowed us to identify
Yep.
who these people were. It was also a part of the growth. So part of this, guys, was like when our ministry um, hit a certain metric last fall, it was like, I can't believe it hit this. And then part of that was like, okay, is this momentum going to continue to climb if we roll out something that potentially people could view as like cumbersome or like, eh? And we're like, regardless, this is a pastoral need. We're going to do
Yeah.
it. And so we found that it actually didn't hurt. It did help, which is ironic because you're like, you think that asking people to do that. And literally, if you would come, it would say like, Micah on a name tag.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Hello,
Be
my
quiet.
name is
Josiah,
Tyler.
like it's so basic. But it
But
was huge in building culture and contributed to the growth and allowed us to go like, we actually know this many people came for the first time or pulled
Yeah.
reports or because of this. And without that, there's no way of knowing that. I don't care how many times we say text to this number if you're new, unless people have a really desperate need, it's hard to move that dial
Mm.
versus on your way in. It's a point of entry built on the culture of us knowing your name and everyone knowing it. Why not? You
well,
know?
young adults really crave community and they
Yes.
really want to be known, not just counted. And
That's
so
Yep.
good. Yep.
your name is, I mean, gosh, Dale
So it's gonna-
Carnegie, How to Win Friends
Yes.
and Influence People. Your
Yes.
name is to that person the sweetest sound to anybody. And
Yep.
so, man, I just wanted to drill down on that. Like, name tags doubled the care structure and
Yep.
ability to shepherd these young
Yep.
adults that were new, that were coming, giving it a
Yep.
shot, and they
Yep.
felt seen and known. Oh
Yep.
my goodness, Micah, you had something as well.
Well, I still have a question because dealing with multi-site, and we're newer to a role of a multi-site. It's not like this. It's probably is it considered a mega church here in
Yeah,
Minneapolis?
yeah, yeah,
I would
yeah.
consider it, yes. But for you, what has been like the tipping point for the involvement of leaders and volunteers? And like, when did their buy-in go up? Like, when does buy-in go up in the tipping point of like, hey, I no longer want to be a participant on the sidelines of your
Mhm.
events. How do I get involved in this process? Like, have you seen something? Is the name tag like the first stage of people's buy-in goes up, like, oh, I have a name, a face, and my soul has a destination, like they care enough? Like, what would you say has been like revealed to you in the process of, I don't know,
Yeah, that's an
developing a team of
interesting thought.
volunteers?
Yeah, that's an interesting thought with like that being in first, like, oh, I'm known. I think um, we have certain spaces that are like low hanging fruit to jump in on a team and serve. So, for example, like the big event we just had, one of our young adult pastors had 100, just at his location, 160 people serve at this event. Now, like 100, that's not 160 core people. Those are people who are like, I want to kind of taste and see what this looks like. And so they're a part of team rallies and leadership trainings, celebrating stories after we're going, you are a part of this. Hey, we're back next week. Come be a part. And so that's been like a great funnel. I'd also say like the more missional the languages and the more like real time like deployment is, people just get a taste for building and leading and really like Gen Z, millennials, like young adults don't want to they don't want to observe. They don't want to sit on the sidelines. And I
Yeah.
think like even those that are, they're itching on the inside for someone to call that out and then give them a next step to go, hey, come roll with us. And so I think it's just been like try to have a spirit of invitation and then have leaders and dream team members help build. So like young adults will help support a world that they build. And so like the best inviters, I guess I could say, are people who are on the team, not
Yeah.
staff just going. I mean, we have some people that are literally come in and work during the week in office hours and just help build and plan for events and planning after parties and following up with brand new people. And I think when they get a taste of the mission, and then when we celebrate, going like, we had 167 people make decisions at this event, and five, like, and you hear the stories we had this one man who grew up in a Muslim home, had a vision of Jesus, comes to church, first one to make a decision for Christ, like wild stuff. And so we're telling these stories to our team who helped make this happen. And it just, yeah, it lights them up and wants them to keep going after it. So I think trying to make it easy to be a part. Um, and then life-giving, challenging, um, have a sense of shared ownership. And then I think, yeah, like the being known, having a community, your story, knowing that it's infectious. So
Yeah. I think
yeah,
like two things come to mind, like feeding and fueling, like this thing that we're feeding and fueling this thing together. So I feel like when buy-in goes up, then participation takes place. And when
yep,
participation takes place, buy-in goes up. So it's like feeding and fueling not
yep,
only what the church body needs and the vision of the pastors that's coming down, but also it's igniting a passion in the volunteers' hearts and
hmm,
future and maybe callings for them
yep,
to have a taste of like, what does volunteering look like? Oh, rallying groups, I'm a part of something. Like I feel
yep,
like I don't have to pay for this membership because it's free. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
the feeding and fueling just came to mind when a buying goes up, participation takes place, and vice versa. So
That's
that's fun
great.
to hear that people are wanting it, I guess.
You know,
Yep,
one of the great studies that's been done, it was put out by, I believe, Treetops Foundation. It's called the Great Opportunity, and they believe that by 2050, as many as
Mm,
50 million Gen Z were projected to leave the Christian faith. But they came up with like 7 research-based changes that local churches could make, and they would see up to 50 million Gen Z experience God instead of like walking
yeah,
away from the faith, doubling down, like
wow.
going all in with Jesus.
yep,
One of the 7 is this idea of where is the digital Billy Graham of the next generation. We may or may not see, the jury's still out on will we see more stadium
hmm,
gatherings. I think there's
yep,
still possibly a space for some of that.
yep,
But, I even heard John Tyson cast a vision for his church in New York City that he, not just his sermon clips on social media, but he wants to theologically equip 10 young adults in their own faces and
yep,
voices to
yep.
present the gospel on
Yeah.
TikTok. And
Come on.
his vision was that students and young adults riding the subway to college or to school in the subway of New York City would get saved because the
Come on.
gospel was presented to them.
That's good.
And I look at like right now, Tyler, it is the time of.
Yes, it
We
is.
met with a retired CEO last week, and he said, Josiah, in my entire life, I could never think of a better time to go after young adults than right
Come on.
now. And
Yep,
I'm
Mm,
like, why? And he's like, well, church attendance is up, Bible sales are up,
yep,
revival is happening, outpouring at Asbury,
mm-hmm,
the Unite Us movement. But
yep,
just young adult ministries are starting
mm-hmm.
yep.
in Jesus' name. And it's amazing. One thing that rattled at the top of the year, we did a digital conference for young adult ministry leaders across North America. And Alan Walters from One and All Young Adults
Yeah,
in San Dimas, California, 2 years ago, actually, sorry, 5 years ago, his pastors came to him and said, we got to reach the next generation. He goes, that's the silliest question ever. This is the most reachable generation of all time.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
That bar is too low. We've got to
Mm-hmm.
disciple them, serve them, equip them, mobilize them,
yep,
invest in them.
Mm-hmm.
And that comment rattled me.
yep,
But where I want to go with this thought is, from your vantage point, leading a team, it's not all on you, but as
yep.
you equip your team, the local TikTokers, the
Hmm,
local young adults, it's even a great for like a pastor, you might not need to run your own Instagram page. Maybe you do, and it's
hmm,
very engaging if you do. But maybe there's a young adult that could collaborate and serve and
yep.
support. But what are your thoughts on how do you leverage digital and social media to extend the reach and disciple beyond the room?
Yeah, no, that's such a great question. It's funny. I don't know. Sometimes I don't feel like maybe the best candidate to answer this because in the past I've always like, what is my what is my relationship with social media? And so I actually had, I think a year ago, taken a whole year off of social. I felt like the Lord asked me to do it, and it was very life-giving to me. And I've had a couple encounters this summer. I felt like the Lord's been asking me specifically to start using it more, which, worrying about perception, all of that. And the Lord's just really kind of freed from a lot of that because of going like, man, guys, I've started seeing just personally with even our young adult ministry, I've started seeing like friends from high school circle back and go, I watched this sermon. I heard about it. Like I'm talking about like 12, 13, 14 years. And it's all because of reaching beyond. They're not, they live states away. And because of the social space, the gospel is being able to go forth. And so, no, I think, yeah, I think we're in this unique space. And when we talk about the gospel going to the ends of the earth, there is the, you know, take your feet there. But it's also like, because of these social
Right.
platforms, who knows where the gospel could end up because of technology. And so I think our team, I think, does a really great job of utilizing their voice and their interest to get and speak into those spaces and always try to figure out like, you know, what is the most effective way, just engagement. And I would also say it's this relationship as a team of like, there are some people on our team who are like, they did what I did, like they're off. Like, you know what I mean? They're literally off of social
Growing
media
number.
for a whole year, which I'm like, amen, do that. Soul health, all that. I think there's something special about that as especially a young leader to like choose hiddenness because especially if what you do like isn't hidden, it's a great place. But for those that are in that space, what an opportunity. And so yeah, some of my team members are amazing at just making the gospel palatable into those spaces or just engaging week to week content in a way that's like, yeah, I want to follow along or some of that. So I'm still figuring that out. I do know though, if the Lord's behind it and he's breathing on it, man, I don't want to let self-perception or some of those thoughts to keep us from like, man, we got good news. Let's share it in every space we got because yeah, you're seeing that. And I think the other end of it is like, how important is it then to make sure our young people are equipped
Beautiful.
with the gospel because they might, and we're working on this, like people are more likely to just share it on their phone or podcast. So let's make sure what you're saying is theologically sound and like
Yeah.
so like really because it's easy to have a platform and to speak into it more so sometimes than even speaking to real people for younger generations. So like, hey, like use that gift, use that creativity. How can we help make you equipped to reach the spheres and the places God sends those messages. So still figuring it out, but I'm early into that space of like, I think, man, I think there's something really special in this. So,
What else did you learn from that 1 year break? I want to hear more
oh
because
man.
I'm ready at any moment. The drop of the
Hmm.
hat from her, meaning Micah, meaning my wife, if she
Hmm.
says you need a break, done. Tomorrow,
Yep.
right now, I'm couldn't find my
Yep.
phone before this record. It's
That's good for
refreshing.
you.
I love that,
So
bro.
I plan some of those breaks, but I'm part of my soul craves that. I'd be
Hmm.
ready for it. My hesitancy with it is like the amount of young adults locally, young
Yep.
leaders. It does seem to be a vehicle, but what what was that like for you? What else did God share during that year?
In the
Yeah.
wilderness. No.
What's that?
I
Wild.
said in the wilderness, like no
Yes. Well,
phone, like old school throwback.
yeah, it's so funny. And for me, it was definitely like something the Lord asked me to step into. And it was really freeing just to go like, man, I'm out here doing ministry and I don't know what was post it, clip, tag, I left, I have no idea. So that part was like it embraced the importance of proximity and presence of like let's get together and it was also just trusting and in that season where it's like all right Lord if you're asking me to do this then you got to cover the gaps of like I'm maybe not as connected with some people in ministry or friends. I have no idea what people unless you text.
Hmm.
So I think it's just it was another journey of sonship, of security, of going, man, like I want to get stuff out there. I want to encourage people, but I'll choose obscurity and hiddenness any day. And if this is a vehicle to go like, man, I feel hidden. Like they, even though like what I do in my local context isn't hidden, it felt that way, and it was just fairly securing and felt much more present. I didn't, there's other ways to be informed, but it
Hmm.
was very valuable. And I think coming out of that year it's interesting because now I feel like the Lord saying to maybe do a little bit more in social spaces, which before I probably wouldn't have. Yeah, I think it's a great discipline to every now and then. Like I love coffee. I drink a handful of cups of coffee every day, but every year I'll do like a some type of fast where I'm like, I love you, coffee. I don't need you.
Mm,
And I think this was a great every now and then to get off. So it's not for everybody, but for me, it was like all right, I can do what you've called me to do here
Hmm.
and trust that you fill in the gaps. Other people are inviting people to our stuff. Other people are sending DMs, and I think, yeah. So God covers that stuff, and so it was very, very great, especially coming into 30s of just like, man, um, if God knows where to find you, you know what I mean? Like He really
Wow.
does, and I think that's really important for every young leader, especially with social media coming up. You think that if you don't kind of put yourself out there, and great, God says do it, but like I've seen a lot kind of maybe try to pry a door open
Yep.
that God's not in. And it's like, yo, He knows where to find you. He's got you. And so you can be completely hidden in that kind of space. It's funny to say that social media being off it is like the new hiddenness, because like
Yep.
it's a whole
Yeah.
different one.
Agreed.
But
Have you read Anonymous or anything
yep,
by Alicia
yep,
Briccioli?
super good. My wife loves that too. Yep,
Okay. That
powerful.
book so impacted me when you started saying hiddenness, obscurity. It kind of made me wonder. And that book so impacted my soul
Mm-hmm.
that anything she writes now, I read. And I
Yep,
would just say, man, to the lead,
She's a hidden gem
oh my
yep,
gosh.
if you don't know
And
her
and
writings.
if you're wrestling with what we just talked about of some of our wrestle, at least you and I, Tyler, like, man, that book has been a friend to my soul to
yep.
navigate some of those waters. So she talks about the iceberg as the
Hmm.
model of Jesus' life, 10%
Mm-hmm.
visible.
Hmm.
Visible doesn't mean valuable. And
Yep.
90% beneath the surface, and looking at Jesus, 33 years of earthly embodiment of flesh, 10%, 3 years public ministry,
Mm-hmm.
30 years, a little bit more hidden,
Yeah.
anonymous. God does know where to find you. He
Yep.
knows the appointed time. Wow.
And Tyler, I
Yep.
have a follow-up question. I think this
Yeah.
is somebody who's potentially listening, or maybe this is for us, and I don't even know it as a couple here. What did that 1 year do for your marriage and your family dynamics? Like ministry, it impacts you. Like, is anybody following me? I don't know. Are they reposting things? Like it. In that regard, my mind goes to, even when I'm dead and gone, or I'm sick for a week, the world goes on without me, right? So
Yep.
that's a humbling thought. But then also, it's
Yep.
like, if I want to be famous, I want to be famous in my house.
Yeah.
So
Come on.
what did that do? If you're willing to share, like, what did that do or expose that you're willing to share with the audience with your marriage and now 3 children? Like, they didn't see you probably on your phone to the
Yep.
extent of which you did participate, I think,
Totally.
at one point, right? So if you're willing to go there for the audience and
Yep.
encourage them through that, or
Yep.
call some men
100%.
out to be like, be present, or
Yeah.
women, encourage your guys to take a break or whatever.
Yeah.
Take it
Yeah.
away,
It's
man.
Yeah, it's funny. I would say it was kind of the follow-up to when my wife and I first got married, and just kind of the pace of stuff. Maybe it was a year in, and I had a conviction to stop bringing my phone in my bedroom.
Yep.
And it was
Yep.
like, when someone texts you at 10 p.m., now they've entered the most private space of your home, work question, whatever. And so I took my phone out first. And then she had a similar conviction after, like, that is a good thing. She saw it. It's funny enough with the social media, she had done a year before me, and just like she's never on social media anyway. I'm like, hear about this? She's like, no. It was harder for me than it was for her, but she just came out of a year, and I feel like the Lord spoke to me to do that as well. And so yeah, I think it was such a gift to be more present. Also, like, um, I had a whole kid. I think during the time, or was pregnant, like no one, like just all the things that you think that you would announce or tell people about. They're just like, I'll just tell you, I'll write you a card. I'm not, it's Happy Mother's Day
Mm-hmm.
to your face. There's no post. Like, yeah, I think just the benefit of being present, and then, yeah, not being on my phone or feeling like I need to capture every moment for the world. And that's something even right now, my wife and I are like, what is my relationship with social and in ministry and kids growing up? Like, we're still trying to figure out some of that
Mm-hmm.
stuff, but it definitely was a gift of going, man, I'm off and I don't know what's going on, and I'm more present at home and just don't feel that same desire to like keep up with stuff, and just like, oh, I'm present. My kid has something messy on his face, or he just said something ridiculous. I'm just gonna laugh about it, and my wife and I will laugh about it. So I think it allowed us to be a little bit more present in our day to day, especially full, fast paced life.
Yep.
So it was a gift of a season for sure. It definitely helped spark a lot of great conversations with either young adults who were like, I've been wanting to do that. Let me try to do that. But I just think, man, my desire is to play the long game. Man, I want to die old, love Jesus. My wife still loves me. Kids love me. They love the Lord. And so I think those moments help you go like, we realized that like 30 years ago, 20 years ago, there was there was none of this, you know, like,
Yep.
and
Mm-hmm.
so my kids know, like they'll like, and so even now it's conviction when they're talking to me on my phone. They're like, hey, and I'm like, what am I doing? Like
Yep.
what, you know? And
Mm-hmm.
so, gosh, let's not be people who are, our kids have more memories of us staring at our phones than looking them in the eyes. You know what I mean? Like,
100%. It's
especially with ministry when you're gone and here and
yes.
there. So it was healthy. I encourage anybody to do it, even for a shorter period of time. The Lord will speak to you. Journal. Yeah, I'm sure I could go back through, but it's special.
Well, Molly DeFrank wrote a book. And it was
You're
called
right.
The 21-Day Detox. And
Digital detox. Yeah.
yep, and it's 21-day digital detox. It literally takes every single person in the household off the screen, off the phone, off the TV, off the iPad, off the gaming systems.
Yep.
And the essence of the book is to help you as a parent discover your children's love language, spiritual gifts, increase their creativity, increase their ability to critical think. And she gives you like breaks down the chapters and the stats of how much life is wasted. Like by the time they're 18 years old, they've spent however many,
Years.
like 6 or 8 years of
Yeah.
their time on that. I'm like, you just halved your life by being on social media. So that's just an extremely fun way. And she has ideas like, hey, go to the library if your kids love bugs or baking, like get a
Yeah.
new cookbook and get in the kitchen, get dirty in the mud, go on a walk in nature, have people over to your house, be
Yeah.
hospitable. If they like to sing, then put on a play for the whole family or like
Yeah.
karaoke or whatever that
Yeah.
is. And I just think that that's amazing to think about that we have an opportunity as parents or future parents, if you're listening, to steward the social media platforms. And even just seeing like two pictures side by side is one of entire families all on some form of a social media device. Maybe the parents are looking down, the kids are watching TV, and then the picture right next to that is a picture of a family on the floor building blocks, playing games, and actually engaging with one another. And
Yeah.
I think of that, it's kind of like when you go on that first date. Either you're going to sit there at a movie theater and stare at a
Yeah.
screen, or you're going to engage in conversation across the table by sharing a
Yeah.
meal. And I guess I grew up probably more old school, where there only was one telephone on the wall, there was one TV in the living room. We did not have a computer until I was a freshman in high school. And I'm like, I kind of want to go back to those days. Like, I can't change time, but I can, as a parent,
Make
sift
decisions.
through what our
Yeah.
children are exposed to and the memories that, like you said, I don't want them to know the top of my head. I want them to know my face and my
Mhm.
voice. So
Yeah.
I don't know if it's challenging for anybody listening, but man alive, it's more important that your children get into the kingdom of God, not on that sporting
Yeah.
team or in that college. So let's
Yeah.
be present parents too to help walk
Yeah.
kids through that.
It's amazing. Hey,
Sorry, I was
Tyler, are you
yapping.
cool if we do five final thoughts, rapid
Yeah.
fire? We call it the five and
Ooh.
five.
Love it.
First
Yep.
shot is, why does young adult ministry matter? Why is it so vital and important in today's day and age?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the world is changed by young people. History has been defined by the active, bold young women who've changed the world. I also think practically, it's a huge drop-off rate. You have great student ministry, but if the second they turn 18, you release them to state colleges, secular places, there are one or two things are going to happen. Their faith is either going to become like for real or fiction based on the investment. And so I think like my life was changed by a campus ministry in Ohio I was at for 1 year. And so I think choosing to invest into young people when they're literally defining like, who am I? What do I believe? Not because of mom and dad is really important. And if you want your churches to be young, we got to reach and disciple and invest in, and then give stuff away too. So I love young people, love them. So yeah, do
Amazing.
it.
Okay, question number two, curveball. If you could ask Josiah and myself a question, what would you want to know today?
Yeah, what are you see? I mean, you guys are having lots of conversation with all kinds of leaders all around the country. What are some maybe common themes you guys are seeing in the threads of conversation that you would encourage every young adult ministry to lean into? Like here's a note, here's a thought. What would that be?
I think, first of all, a record number of young adult ministries are starting or relaunching right now,
Mm-hmm.
late 2025, gearing up for 2026. Second, the average age of young adult pastor is growing. So I think what it means is, I think people are sticking with young adult ministry a little bit longer than 2 years.
Praise God.
And people our age or even beyond are still very relevant. And
Yep.
so it's a little bit less of a stepping stone ministry and a little bit more of
Yeah.
a significant
Launching pad.
Spiritual formation incubator for discipleship. What else are you seeing, babe?
This is Josiah's realization. He put it to words. Millennials, for example, like I'm a millennial. Millennials, we would tell millennials, or we heard, bring your friends to this camp, bring your friends to church, bring your friends, bring your friends, bring your friends. Gen Z, you tell that to them and they're like a deer in headlights. They're like, I don't have any friends. Like,
They're
I'm here
coming by
to
themselves
make a
to make
friend.
friends. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think for the ministry leader, even that vernacular, and maybe this is not true for everybody, this is true for us, is realizing like we have an opportunity to create friendships for them. We can't make them be friends, but we can
Mhm.
create environments where they have an opportunity to befriend somebody. So even just getting that out of your head, like bring your friend versus, hey, come and meet some new friends and don't leave here without a phone number, a Bible study, a coffee, not necessarily, I'm not talking dates. I'm just talking about friends.
And let's all go buy name tags
Yeah.
in bulk
Buy
Yeah.
name takes
for
of
our
both.
Love it.
ministries.
I love it.
Man, if you had one thing that's on your heart for every young leader,
Yep.
what is that right now?
Mhm.
Oh man. Um, be obedient, be faithful. Be obedient, be faithful, and pursue Jesus. It's so easy to miss Jesus in the busyness of it, but
You're
he's
right.
it. He's the treasure. He's the prize. He's and with that, this is kind of my like soapbox I may be on is like we're in a season right now that every single young person, every single person in America needs to know how to share the gospel and then
Yes.
go for it. And so I think for me, I'm like, if you're in any position to like train and equip people, like the time is now
Wow.
to
Mhm.
train our people on how to share the gospel in their everyday life, their friends, their families. Um, yeah, it's so open right now. I've had so many conversations in public the last couple of weeks, and yeah, the time is open. So I would say pursue Jesus and then help people be able to tell them about him.
That's so good. Question number 4. What is one thing you would tell your 22-year-old self when it comes to ministry or calling?
Yeah, probably some of the same encouragement to I would give to any young leaders is like, man, keep your head down, heart open, plant your feet in a local church and stay. Like resist the urge to, kind of like want to uproot unless the Lord is on it, and just trust that He's going to work everything out. Um, yeah, 20s are so much about just like development and just allowing the Lord to shape us. So I would go back to 22-year-old Tyler and say, hey, keep your head down and be faithful. I'm an ambitious guy who is always like, what's next? What's next? What's next? What's next? What's next?
Mhm.
And just be like, yo, just chill, enjoy life, be faithful, fall in love with Jesus, and He's gonna work everything out. Yeah.
Good.
I'm fired up talking to you, and you know, young adult ministry is so filled with joy. Young
Hmm.
adults are like opening up a treasure box, and you don't know what
Mhm.
gifts they have inside of it. And new people are coming, and they're hilarious, and they're gifted, and they're energetic. And when you're
Yep.
young, you have energy and lack wisdom. As you age, wisdom grows, and energy can decline at times. But if you could, charge every young adult pastor in North America or across the globe with one thing to maybe lead the charge differently in their ministries come this next year, what's
Yep.
what's that thing that you're wanting us to contend for?
Yeah, I would say fasting and prayer, personal holiness and consecration. If I
Amen.
could give one message to every young pastor, preacher in America,
Mhm.
it would be consecrate yourself, walk in holiness. Holiness is not outdated, and contend heaven to move in your context. And yeah, go after the people in your sphere, wherever they are, love them ferociously. And yeah, it's a spiritual work. So where if we want to see the move of God continue, um, it requires prayer and fasting. And so I would say if that's not already a rhythm that we have in our lives, let's come back to prayer, to fasting. Let's eat the word, and God will take care of the rest. So that's we're on the edge of history. I really believe that we haven't seen anything yet, and there's more coming. And so it's going to require us as leaders to make sure that yeah, we're good, that our eyes are on Christ, and yeah, best is yet to come. So
Love that. It's a wonderful word to leave us on in charge.
You're listening to the Young Adults Today podcast. Thanks, Tyler.
Thanks so much, guys. It's been a blast.
Hey, friends, thanks so much for tuning in to the Young Adults Today podcast. As we wrap up the year, we want to invite you to partner with us in investing in the next generation. By partnering with us in what God's doing through Young Adults Today, your year-end gift helps us continue to equip leaders, reach young adults for Christ, and multiply ministries across the nation. You can give right now through the link in the show notes. Thank you so much for believing in this mission and being part of the story of Young Adults Today.